Hey everyone, so welcome back to my Dave Ramsey series, which I have renamed the LLNOE series. Now, LLNOE is a term that my husband and I use often when we refer to live like no one else. And so LLNOE, so we often say, oh, I had a LLNOE moment today, and we'll tell our story of what it was that had happened. And I also decided to sit next to my steamer trunk this time. My son apparently wasn't too happy with my last video where I taken over his room. I was just trying to find some place private to do the video, but apparently he had a problem with it. Anyway, so on this video, this is baby step number 2, which is paying off all of your debt with the debt snowball. Now, as easy as that may sound, this is probably the most challenging baby step, and obviously one of the most important ones, because this is finally your opportunity to clean up your debt and just get completely out of debt. So I think the very first thing that we should discuss is what the definition of debt means. Now, I am guilty of not truly understanding what the definition of debt is. Let me explain. When my husband and I when we bought our very first home about 8 years ago, we got a very good deal on it. It was a very small home. It was about $55,000, and we bought it and we were super excited about it. Well, shortly after buying it, my husband made a comment about, I can't believe that we're, $25,000 or $55,000 in debt. And I was like, what? I was like, we don't have any debt. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I wasn't even considering the house. And he was like, well, we just bought a house. Like, that's debt. And I was like, oh, that's not, no. I mean, no. Debt is like if a, credit card company is calling you and you have like, real debt. But a house, that's not debt. A car, that's not debt. I mean, that's like, that's just like what everyone has. And I was very naive to that. I mean, it took me a while to really change how I thought about the term of what debt really meant. And so I say that because whenever we started to do the debt snowball, once again, I was kind of riding solo with it at first. And so I listed what I consider to be our debts. And it was like maybe 4 or 5 things. It was like 1 or 2 credit cards, and then like our vehicles and like my husband's motorcycle. And it wasn't until my husband got on board where he was like, well, what about this? And what about this? And what about, my Sally Mae? And I kept arguing with him. I'm like, oh, well, the Sally Mae, that's like a student loan. That's not the same thing. And he was like, no, debt is debt. And I think the reality is that I wanted to pay off my car. Like, for me, that was my big goal. So of course I wanted to hit that like as soon as I could. But he was kind of like, no, like our Fry's credit card, that is debt. We bought a TV, so we need to put that on there. And it sucked because my list became twice as long. And because I was like, oh no, my car was next. And he's like, no, these 5 other things are like, you have to really understand what the term debt is. And I think that that's a pretty common thing for people to misunderstand, because again, it was exactly how I was. I was like, oh, we don't have debt. And it's like, no, you do. You're kind of in a pickle here and you need to clean it up. So anyway, baby step number 2, it's a very simple baby step. It's listing your debts. That means if you owe money to anybody, regardless of who it is, what it is, and what form the debt is, it needs to be the very smallest debt at the very bottom and then the highest debt at the very top. Now, once again, this is a really great baby step. You need to ignore the interest rates. Those don't matter. You just need to do it based off of the balance of what the debt is. The reason why this is so important is, like Dave Ramsey says, because you want to have really quick wins. And once again, that's something that I was able to do with our baby step, or with our debt snowball, because our very smallest debt was $300 on something stupid. I don't even remember what it was. But it was like, okay, so, I think the very first month that him and I were like officially tackling this thing, we technically were able to pay off like 2 debts. And it was just like, wow, because one was like, again, $157 and one was like $300. You're like, but this doesn't count. It's like, no, it does. And you pay it off and you cut up the credit card, and you're like, wow. So all of a sudden I can cross that off my list. And that's such an important thing to do. And so again, with us, like we had, debts 1 through 7, whatever it was. Again, we had a couple of credit cards. We had our vehicles. My husband had his motorcycle and he had his truck. And what really was the dynamite for the logjam for us was when my husband decided, when he was on board and he realized the error of our ways, he decided to sell his motorcycle. And so when he did that, that immediately eliminated like $6,000 in a debt that was completely gone. And then a few days later, he sold his truck, and so that was, $15,000 for his truck. And so it was just like that we had eliminated $20,000 in debt and about $400 a month in payments. And so that $400 could now go towards our smallest debt. And with us working together, we just attacked it. I mean, we were so fortunate that our mess wasn't too big to begin with. And so we were able to just like really like plow into our debt and be able to clean it up like pretty quickly. We sold everything. And I think whenever people contact me and they say like, well, what's the secret? Like, how, what do you really do? And I guess like that's what Dave Ramsey asks people when they go on his show. I would say, honestly, the term is, if it's not nailed to the floor, you sell it. Like, I love my Seymour truck, but there was a time that I don't want to say I consider selling it because I love it so much, but I paid $150 for it. It's over 100 years old. I almost was like, well, but one of those things where it's, even Dave says, like a family heirloom or family antique, like hold on to that because you can't get this back. And so we sold everything else. We sold a barbecue pit. We sold a treadmill, baby furniture. We sold just everything. Anything that I could get more than $50 for, it was on Craigslist because all of that money was going towards our debt. And so I think that that's what it is that you have to get to this place where, they call it gazelle intense, like being gazelle about it. And it's about you saying, like, I don't care about this stuff anymore. I don't care about the cars. I don't care about the furniture. I don't care about, the jewelry if you have any or any kind of electronics. Like, sell everything. Towards the end of our debt snowball, we had decided that it was probably best to sell our home. The house that we were living in at the time, beautiful home, absolutely gorgeous. But basically what we owed on it was what it was worth. And I really didn't like that. We were very normal when we bought it. We hardly put anything down, if we even did put anything down. And we bought it and lived in it for 5 years and realized, I woke up one day and was like, wow, we have no equity in this house. Like, this is a horrible decision. Like, so you can either continue to make a poor decision by living in the house, or you can sell out. And we did. We were sellouts. And we became renters for the very first time and could not be happier with it because it's given us an opportunity to not have the financial burden and responsibility of a mortgage in a home that we have to keep up the maintenance on. And I love the idea of home ownership, and we absolutely will be owning a home again in the future, but it needs to be done right. It needs to be done with an appropriate down payment. And the house needs to be a little bit more modest. Our house was way overkill for us and this portion of our lives. Honestly, the weekend that we went and looked at our house, I went into the purchase of that home as if I had taken my car to CarMax and thought, well, I'll just buy this and in 2 years I'll trade it in, and that's just how life works, right? And I was very naive. And so I appreciate God so much. One of my favorite lines from Dave Ramsey's book is, he says, God tends to pour blessings on those going a direction he wants. And whenever we listed our house for sale, we got an offer. As soon as the pictures went live, the house, we had an offer that evening and multiple offers the next day. It sold for top dollar, and we were able to just completely get out of it. The entire process was flawless. It was a beautiful home. It kind of sold itself, but I appreciate that there was no other financial obligation to it. We were able to be able to get out of it pretty quick. And so again, baby step number 2, list out your debts, smallest to largest, and just knock them out and pay them off. And don't be afraid of cutting up your credit cards. My husband actually had to, there's a few credit cards that he had to rip from my hand because I was like, well, hold on a second, hold on. Let's wait till we have our emergency fund set up. And he was just like, you're nuts. You need to give me this and we're going to cut it up and we're going to be done. And it scared me. I mean, it really scared me. I actually keep our credit cards like in a little baggie in our kitchen because I just am like, oh, there is this emotional attachment to it. But don't be afraid of making these really aggressive moves because it pays off. I am proof that we paid off our debt March 9th of 2014, so this year. So we are, what is that? 7-8 months into being debt free, and in those 8 months our lives have changed so much because of not having debt. When people say like, well, what, like, what does it take? What is it, what do you have to do in order to like really do this? And I think for me, the passion has to be there, and you have to wake up every single day thinking focused intensity, life or death intensity. And those were I had 3 phrases that I constantly said as we were getting out of debt. God tends to pour blessings on those going a direction he wants. Focused intensity over time multiplied by God equals forward momentum, and live like no one else. You're living like no one else. There are people are going to make fun of you. People are going to think something's wrong with you. And we had all of those. All the monkeys trying to pull you down from getting the bananas. Constantly. Everything that Dave said would happen in his book happened in real life. And so, but who cares, honestly, because you will find yourself in a position where you're so happy with the outcome of it. So once again, baby step number 2, pay off all your debt. And I appreciate you guys visiting me again. And again, this is a LLNOE series, and so I will have 5 more videos after this explaining all of the baby steps and what our experience was. We are on baby step, I guess you could say 3B, which is after you get your 6 months emergency fund. 3B is saving 20% on a house. And so it's very important for me to obviously to become a homeowner once again, but I'm going to do it the right way. So thanks for stopping by, and I hope you guys have a nice day.